price of petrol remains one of the biggest stories in the country today, and the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, is asking President Bola Tinubu to instruct the NNPC Limited to reverse the recent increase in petrol prices pending the hearing and determination of a lawsuit filed in the Federal High Court Abuja, which challenges the legality of NNPC Limited's authority to raise petrol prices. Only last month, SERAP had initiated legal action against the President and the NNPC Limited due to what the group describes as their failure to reverse what they deemed an unlawful increase in petrol prices. But commenting on the latest increment in an open letter signed by SERP's Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization said increasing petrol prices, while the Federal High Court case is pending, will undermine the ability of the courts to do justice in the case, damage public confidence in the court, prejudice the outcome of the case, as well as impede the course of justice. Meanwhile, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, says that cross-border smuggling and arbitrage have for several decades eroded the value that subsidy was made to achieve. Providing more information on what President Bola Tinubu's decision on subsidy removal meant, Mr. Kyari says it brought about price parity and equalization, especially with cross-border prices of PMS. Mr. Kyari, in an interview with journalists, also spoke on the progress made on combating crude oil thieves, gas development, infrastructure, and the future of energy in Nigeria.
In the last 40-something years, PMS has always been subsidized. And subsidy is creating arbitrage. That means there's a difference between price in one location lower than what it should be with another location. The evacuation from the table averaged 51 in recent times. And when Mr. President announced the removal of subsidy in June, what it did is calibrated price. It came to market. There's no longer any value in anyone taking the product across the border. If you do, you're not going to make those profits that you do. I'll give you an example. If the delta is significant, like if you are selling twice the price across in a 6,000 liter truck, you can actually gain up to 70 million naira from just one truck. So how are you going to stop someone who can just with 2 trips across the border will make 17 times 2, which is the price of the truck itself? So if you don't arrest it, then it's over. He has made his money. Versus when you take a truck legally, what's the cost of a truck now? Maybe 60,000. You take it to maybe 8 million naira, for instance, to Maiduguri. The legitimate value you have is less than 500,000 naira. So why would I see 70 million naira and then take all the trouble, go to Maiduguri, keep it in the fuel station for 1 month, and just make 300,000 to 400,000 naira? The challenge you have in all these countries, you have taxation on PMS. We don't have tax here. So in many of these countries, actually government revenue is dependent on the taxes that is coming on PMS. So you will see that until you balance for that, you recover your market costs and add taxation on it, there is no way you will ever get to a situation where there is some kind of market parity between us and our neighbors. But you will not be losing money. As long as you are not in a subsidy regime, you won't lose money.
Well, that's the GCU of NNPC Limited in that interview with newsmen. But you can catch a fuller version on our Business Morning program by 10 a.m. Well, let's talk politics now. In the People's Democratic Party, a former governor of Ekiti State and a chieftain of the party, Mr. Ayo Fayose, has expressed regret over the crisis rocking the former leading party in Nigeria. Well, they said the suspension and the counter-suspension within the party has brought the PDP too low to the level of embarrassment, which according to him is not necessary, adding that the current crisis in the main opposition party is as a result of a loss of the 2023 election. He was a guest in our political program, Sunday Politics.
The current situation in our party has made a mockery of suspension and counter-suspension. Has made a mockery, especially at that level of leadership. And sadly enough, the current situation in the party has taken the party so low, a level of embarrassment that is most unnecessary. Not due respect to our governors, managing their states wonderfully well. Where is the party? What are we talking about? Do we say the party is in shape? Well, elections has come and gone. No doubt there was a G5 network. Elections had come and gone. And because the party suffered a loss, I think the consequences of that loss is haunting the party.
Now to the Labour Party. As a crisis bedeviling the party continues, the leadership in Lagos State says it is making progress with resolving the challenges facing the party and also positioning it to play an active role in the country's political struggle. Well, this was disclosed at the party's leaders and members hosted its stakeholders in Lagos. The governorship candidate of the party, Gbadebo Road Survivor, and the national coordinator of the Obedient Movement, Yunus Otanko, were among those who attended the meeting, which they claim is meant to foster a stronger and more unified Labour Party. Away from politics now, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos, have arrested a Thailand returnee, Ogwejiofo Nemeka Simon Peter, for importing 13.3 kilograms of heroin worth over 3.192 billion naira, allegedly. Operatives of the agency at 3 of the nation's seaports and others are said to have also intercepted large consignments of opioids with a combined monetary value of 22.7 billion naira. A statement by NDLEA's Director of Media and Advocacy says that Mr. Ogwejiofo was arrested on Monday, October the 7th, while attempting to smuggle out of the airport the illicit drug concealed in 6 backpacks packed into 2 big suitcases. And the presidency has clarified that Nigeria was not among those who competed in the 2024 United Nations Human Rights Council elections, which held on October the 9th, according to the press statement signed by the Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga. Nigeria was not snubbed, stating that any votes mistakenly attributed to Nigeria during the recent election were likely cast in error by other nations. In line with such elections into international bodies, countries vying for such positions usually receive regional endorsement, and it says Nigeria's focus has been on supporting these endorsed candidates to strengthen collective African representation. The United States government has piled more charges on the earlier $20 million bank fraud case against the founder and chairman of domestic carrier Air Peace, Mr. Allen Onyema, as he continues, in their words, to elude trial in an American court in the last 5 years. In a statement published on the United States Attorney's Office, Northern District of Georgia's website, Mr. Onyema has been charged in a superseding indictment with obstruction of justice for submitting false documents to the U.S. government in an effort to end an investigation of him that resulted in earlier charges of bank fraud and money laundering. But Air Peace Limited has been reacting to the media reports of the U.S. Department of Justice indictment against its chairman, Mr. Onyema, and Chief of Finance and Administration, Mrs. Ejiro Egaga. A statement issued in Lagos and signed by the airline's management reads in part, "These charges leveled against our postholders are part of an extended legal process stemming from earlier accusations of financial misdeeds that date back several years. While the charges have been expanded, it is essential to emphasize that both Dr. Onyema and Mrs. Egaga remain innocent, and these are mere allegations and the case is still in court." The airline added that its legal team is fully engaged with the matter and is working to ensure that justice prevails. Well, outside the country, more than 60 people have been injured in a drone strike targeting the Binyamina region of northern Israel. That's according to medics. In a statement, Voluntary Emergency Response Organization United Hatzalah said the conditions of the wounded range from critical to mild. It said all had been taken to 5 regional hospitals, either by ambulance or helicopter. Earlier on, 2 Israeli tanks had reportedly destroyed the main gate of a United Nations interim force in Lebanon position in the south of the country. The clash follows the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's call on the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to remove peacekeeping forces in southern Lebanon immediately. And the Super Eagles of Nigeria, well, are in Libya for the return leg of the Africa Cup of Nations qualification against the Mediterranean Knights tomorrow. But their arrival has not been without hiccups. Videos posted online showed the team waiting at the airport, with reports saying the Super Eagles were being denied entrance into Libya and were held up at the Abrak airport for over 4 hours. It was reported that about an hour to landing, the Nigerian aircraft approaching its destination, Benghazi, was diverted to another city more than 2-hour drive from the original destination. Well, definitely antics not needed for the good sport of football.